We will spend lots of money on exterior. We will spend lots of money on even how to improve our business. How do you go from a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, right? Well, I'm standing here that I spent 3 decades of my life building an 8-figure business to realize that's not what I wanted. And I think the women-centric coaching approach is really allowing you to unravel those layers, some of those stories that we convince ourselves that, maybe other people told us. And so it's not just a matter of shifting a mindset, or it's almost like shifting your self-identity. And so you need that pause to create that story.
And this is the time, let's, call it out, where women are in pre or perimenopause and menopause and post-menopause. So taking that time for a pause is so appropriate during this time to be able to say, okay, what is it that I want? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as is so important. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Patient Advocacy Initiative podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Asha Bohannon, and I am super excited today to have the guest that I have. Dr. Rajinder Rai is the founder of Sunrays Health. Her mission is to really help empower women in midlife through information and inspiration, which we all need. With over 2 decades of experience as a pharmacist specializing in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, she understands the unique challenges women face today during these transformative phases. And her own personal journey has actually led her to create Sunrays Health and offers a safe space for women to reframe midlife wellness. So I want to really emphasize that word wellness. As a devoted mother, Rajinder's transformation was actually inspired by her children, which I think most of ours are. She realized the importance of setting an example for them, one of self-care, empowerment, and embracing change. Her vision is very clear. It's to provide guilt-free opportunities for women to prioritize their own health and well-being. She's a woman after my own heart because she combines her pharmaceutical expertise with a very holistic approach that's focused on you as a woman in midlife. And it's time to put ourselves first and embark on that journey to a vibrant and more empowered midlife. So I always like to add in a fun fact too. And Dr. Rai loves to dance, which maybe we can get her to show us some moves. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But welcome. And thank you for being here, Dr. Rai.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asha. I am so glad we were able to connect. I know we've been trying to get this going for quite some time, and I am so excited to share what we're building at Sunrays Health. As you mentioned, being a pharmacist, I've always had the ability to work directly with patients on a one-to-one level. But, even after 3 decades as a pharmacist, I really felt that I wasn't completing the circle for them. When I went through my own health crisis, had a family crisis, and I realized, as a patient, as a mother of a patient, what patients really go through and the overwhelm and almost like not being heard. As a patient, that really prompted me to switch sides and put on the hat of coaching more so than being a pharmacist, where, again, you're part of that system that you are giving advice, giving clinical advice, but sometimes not relating to what's really going on in a patient's life. So I have gone from having patients to clients, which I feel like it's given me more opportunity to share that knowledge that I have as a pharmacist, but to empower them with tools and resources that they can actually, make lifestyle changes, which I think is important. The quick fixes are out, and the long game is what I teach. And what really changed for me was my own journey of even when I first started Sunrays Health, I was like, okay, I'm going to tell people what to do. I've infused my pharmacy with functional medicine. So I'm going to, read their labs and then I will be able to, again, tell them what they need to do. And, it wasn't working. My clients would follow along for a bit, but then I noticed that they would, fall back to their habits, back to the same way. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I took it personally. Yeah. And so I took a step back and I started my own journey in learning about feminine energy through evolving wisdom, which brought me to women-centric coaching. And that changed my life. I realized some of my own barriers that as a woman I've been carrying for, I guess, all of my life. Not feeling enough, feeling invisible. Sometimes there's shame. All of these things lead to the fear of the choices that we make in life. Sometimes we overcompensate. Sometimes we, stay in the back of the room. A lot of these things, fall also into our subconscious when it comes to our own health as women as well, too, because we don't put ourselves first. Everyone else is a priority. Something's happening in our body. We've somehow figured out a way to ignore it because, nothing can go wrong with us because we are so responsible for everyone else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've come to a point where I feel like I'm still a pharmacist at heart, but my mission now going forward is really giving women that space to take a pause and reevaluate where they are, what's working for them, what's not working for them, and get off of autopilot.
Oh, I love everything that you just said. I mean, I think we're in the same age group, so we we all feel that. And your approach, I love this coaching approach because there's so much more that when I just iterate that pharmacists can do rather than just to focus on the medications and how do we fix it more clinically in that respect. The good news is you can talk about those things and you can help them through those things, but it's more than that. It's more of this holistic approach. And you do have a kind of a three-pronged approach, I'm going to call it, when you call it women-centric coaching approach. Can you talk a little bit more about what those three aspects are that you really help women discover?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost is that, we all are on our own journey. Regardless of all the responsibilities and roles that we have, that, all the accolades and titles we've collected, we're an individual. And I think that a lot of times we've forgotten that we had dreams of our own. And so being on this self-discovery is like the first, pillar, is to understand that, we're here to learn, to, bring that curiosity back in our life about things that, the whys and the whats and the hows versus just doing. And learning to be. And I think what I did was I started to spend more time with myself, which I never would even sit for 5 minutes quietly because I didn't want to know what was going on. It was like, it's almost like you allow yourself to be busy because you don't want to know.
I think there's a fear aspect of even going back to what that could look like, or maybe what the fear is of what the future holds. So I think that's a really great point.
Yeah. So I think the first step was like, I needed to know who I was and like myself. I remember it so clearly. I went past a mirror one day, like a few years back, and I was like, and you know how you get it, you catch a glance. I was like, I don't know who you are. Oh. And it was just something like that. I was like, I didn't, on the exterior, everybody was like, oh my gosh, how do you do all this? How do you run businesses? You're a super mom, you're super pharmacist, everything. But when I really looked in the mirror and I realized I don't know who I am myself, that was that first, click for me. And then I realized some of the things the choices I was making, whether it was specifically on my sleep, on how I'm eating, how I'm showing up, like I was not taking care of myself. And somehow I just was pushing myself to just do the things that I needed. So there was the second component is that transformation, that you have to want it, that you have to be, wanting to make those changes for yourself. It's not that, okay, I need to be a better pharmacist, so I'm going to add more skills, or I want to be a better mom, so I'm going to show up more for my children. And any other role and responsibility. That transformation needs to be coming from within. That allows for, then going into that personal growth, is that we, again, don't spend enough time and resources for that, about learning how you become a better version of you. Because again, we will spend lots of money on exterior. We will spend lots of money on even how to improve our business. How do you go from a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, right? Well, I'm standing here that I spent 3 decades of my life building an 8-figure business to realize that's not what I wanted. What I wanted is to be able to be me. That was somebody else's dream, not my dream. And discovering what I want and how I want to show up, and the contributions I want to make to my community, is something that you have to kind of go back in deeper. And I think the women-centric coaching approach is really allowing you to unravel those layers, some of those stories that we convince ourselves that, maybe other people told us. Maybe it's culturally, it could be, one incident that happened in elementary school that you've held on to. That was the case for me. But you realize that some of those stories, you're just putting it on repeat, and there's no truth to it, but you need to have another story to replace it. And so it's not just a matter of shifting a mindset, or it's almost like shifting your self-identity, because you have to, replace that story with something else. And so you need that pause to create that story, or to, rewrite what has been happening for you. And I think that's one of the key things, is like, I'm doing this at 50. I don't think there's ever a time when it's too late. I mean, I would have liked to have started 10 years ago, but that's okay. Day one is day one. And so I think just, raising awareness that even when you feel like everything, on the exterior, you're checking off the list of success, there's still something that's always like, I need to do a little bit more. Maybe if I got to this level, then I'm going to feel this happiness or joy. But what I realize is that it's that internal validation that we're really seeking, and we don't know it.
Yeah, no, because so many things to unpack here. Because you're 100% right. We don't even know what that story is anymore, and it's just become so ingrained. So unpacking that to see what it is that we actually want at this phase of life, and we get so busy, and I get that, and we all do, particularly if you are a mom, and if you're a young mom that has young children. You get thrown into the thick of things, almost into the fire, right? And you just keep going, and you're in reactive mode. And so I love the idea of this time for a pause. And this is the time, let's, call it out, where women are in pre or perimenopause and menopause and post-menopause. So taking that time for a pause is so appropriate during this time to be able to say, okay, what is it that I want? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? Is so important. This is your permission. If anybody out there is looking for permission, this is your permission to take that pause and really dig deep. And I love this approach of, self-discovery to transformation, to really accepting yourself and the self-love that you show yourself over this time period, because it's a journey. It's not even going to happen just overnight. It's you've got to really dig deep, and we've all had it. And like you said, there's many different factors that come into play here, whether it's a story that was from elementary school, or if it's a cultural story, or past relationship of some sort. Like, all of those things come into it. And then even what our ideals were, I've noticed that too, is what your ideals were of coming into motherhood, or coming into marriage, or anything like that, or career for that matter. What you thought was going to happen isn't always how it ends up. And so kind of going back and digging into all of that, I think is really important. So I love all of the things that you're saying. I'm like, I could sit and talk about this all day long. What is the first thing or the first step that you would say for a woman that's hearing this, that's like I am stuck, I have no idea even where to start? What would you advise?
Yeah, I think the first is always awareness, right? To understand that a woman's body is physiologically changing, year after year. Obviously, when you jump from decade to decade, you are physiologically changing. So the hormones are changing because you are changing from the phase that, fertility to reproductive, and now you're going to be post-reproductive. And I think there's misconception of that, I don't plan to have any more kids anyway, so what's the big deal? I don't need to worry about my hormones. But, women need to realize that hormones are basically the data for the computer to know what to do to function, right? So how we're programmed with our hormones is how we're going to function. And it's not just about your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, the common ones. There's so many other hormones that are in our, that get triggered. It's like that cascade of events that happens when one triggers the other and so forth. And so I don't even like to term it as hormone balance. I think it's like creating harmony in what you're doing, whether it's in life, work and motherhood and other responsibilities, as a daughter, you have aging parents. There's so many things that happen in midlife. And when the hormones are changing, you are also changing physiologically. And some of that nurturing, as you probably know, that, as estrogen drops, your nurturing also goes down, and so you start to get into this, like, why, I don't really care about certain things anymore. That light bulb starts to go up, and there's a reason for it, because estrogen is also going down in our bodies, and it is kind of almost like nature's way of telling us, like, okay, hey, you've done your bit, you've done a lot. Now it's time for you to start thinking about yourself. So this notion of just thinking, well, I'll deal with it when it happens. The change or menopause is like years away. I don't have to deal with it. Or, oh, my mom didn't go through it. My friends are fine. Nobody, you will go through it. And I think that realizing that even if you don't have symptoms, there are specific health concerns once you are depleted in hormones, because that's basically what's happening. Your hormones are depleted. Women are living much longer than before. There's no studies to say what happens to women without hormones until 80, 90, because there's no studies done on women's health, right? So you have to think about it. Like, if perimenopause is about 10 years, so, average woman about 40, you hit menopause about 50, 52 or so, and then you're living till about 82. That is almost 40 years of being in a hormonal roller coaster, or in depletion almost. So to think about running a car on empty, how far will you get? And so I think that awareness is the first step. Second step would be advocating for yourself. Not all doctors are knowledgeable specifically in menopause care. So if you're not getting the answers that you are seeking, or, a lot of doctors may think that this is a part of, just deal with it. I have a lot of clients that come in and tell me this. I myself had that experience as well too, even with my doctor, knowing I'm a pharmacist and into wellness, I was kind of dismissed. But I feel like, you have to advocate for yourself, whether, it's your physical health, your mental health, all of that. If you're feeling something, if again, so it goes back to going into your intuition and trusting what your body is saying to you, that, okay, I don't feel right. Yes, my labs may look fine, but I don't feel good. There's something not right. I shouldn't be tired. I should be able to sleep. Why am I not, why am I bloated? Why is my temperature going up? All of those are cues that your body is sending you. So that self-advocacy is really important. And lastly, action. Okay, you've been inspired, you gathered all this information, but what are you going to do? So is there going to be any steps that you're going to take? And it doesn't have to be, we're in this for the long haul. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. It's like, okay, what can I do today to improve one step? I can start walking. I can look at the foods I'm eating. One drastic change or a simple change that created drastic impact in my life was going to sleep by 10 o'clock, 10:30 at the latest. So sleeping 1 hour earlier for me, I do wake up early, but that extra hour of sleep during that hour has done wonders. That your growth hormone, we still have growth hormone that gets triggered, gets kicked in about 11 o'clock at night. So if you're staying up till 12, 1, you're missing that opportunity for, all of the things that need to happen for your body to detox, hormones need to get calibrated, all of that.
Restore yourself
during sleep.
Everything you said is what I stand for, what this podcast is about patient advocacy. So being aware and then fighting for yourself. But in order to do that, getting the right information, getting inspired, having the right resources and tools. And you are a phenomenal tool for this. I'm going to say this part of life, this midlife, and you're the living proof. And that's what I think I love most, is that you've been there, you've done that, you're still going through it, you're still discovering. It's a journey. And so I'm inspired by you. I really love talking to you every single time we chat. And so I think and you've said a lot, but I'm going to give you an opportunity just to give that one little piece of advice, like one thing. If anybody takes away one thing from all of this, what do you think that would be?
I think, again, it's like you have to start listening to your body, period. You can, again, have the best doctor, have the best care, have all of your resources and tools, but your body the best. Things are changing, it's not even about like the number on the scale anymore. It's like, how are you feeling? I don't even look at the scale anymore. So it's more of being in tune with my body. Am I able to go up the stairs and feel okay? Am I sitting down and eating? What are the things that I'm doing that you have to track yourself of, like, okay, what happened and why did I feel like this? It's almost like you are your own investigator, because there is always a pattern of why something happened. And I think that you have to be aware of that and take that responsibility back on yourself, that no one else is going to take care of you the way you would take care of yourself.
That was a mic drop moment. We're going to end right there because I can't say anything more than that. And I think that's awesome. I will have all of your information and ways to get in touch with you in the show notes, but just real quick, what is the quickest and easiest way to get in touch with you if somebody's interested in learning more?
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram, Thrive with Dr. Rai. I do have a link to sign up for my newsletter where we drop information every week. And we do have a private group as well. It's free. Welcome for anyone to join.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time today to share about midlife. And I did want to end with, she is a pharmacist turned midlifeist now. So I'm really excited to share more information about you to the world. So thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Asha.